Hi there, my name's Jared Auty. I'm studying computer animation and visualization at Bournemouth University, and I'm going to demonstrate an L system tree growing script that I've written in Python. So to start off with, it's basically just a little script in here with a couple of modules tacked on the end. I'm just going to drag and drop this into there so that we've got a nice little button. When you run the script, you have to tell it where the modules that it's using, those are little files that it's using to do the code. You have to tell it where those are, so we'll update that and it brings up this window here. Now straight off the bat, it's got presets in here. I'm not gonna at the moment it's not got too many presets because those are mainly user generated. Eventually I will make a huge list of them for different trees, but I'm more demonstrating the program now than the actual content that it creates. So this is a pretty standard preset here. It's just a pretty basic tree. Press generate and it will generate a tree. Okay, so here we got a tree with leaves and stuff like that. Now this is it's randomized, so it's using stochastic L system to change the structure and all the angles and everything every time. So every time you run it, you'll get a different tree. Now, the way it works is you have a set of properties that you can edit, which will basically tell Maya how to grow the tree. Here, these I won't go too much into them. They're L system rules. They basically tell the program how it branches, how the structure works, how it rotates and everything. It's got multiple definitions of different things. It can basically choose which branching structures to use each time it calls it, so that it randomizes the structure. You can add and remove rules interactively. You can change them around in here, add in whatever characters you want. It won't break if the characters don't represent anything, but they won't do anything. The depth, I'm just going to reset that so that it's back to the normal tree. The depth controls how effectively complicated the tree is. So if you have a very small depth, it won't be very big. If you have a very large depth, I won't put it up that far. If you have a very large depth, then it will be a very complicated tree, very detailed. Here we have the angle. It works on every time one of these rules calls a rotation of some kind. It will rotate it by this amount. So it will have quite a large effect on the way that the tree looks, because it will add an angle. If you change the angle, it will make it every angle very much more exaggerated. It will remain the same sort of structure, but all the angles will be exaggerated. So here we've got something like on 20. Here we've got something on like 7 or 8. So that's quite splayed out. And that's quite straight up. You can change these values interactively. This is still using the same rules. There's an angle randomization, which if you put that to 0, it won't randomize. Put it to 100 and it will do the maximum amount of randomization. I'll leave it at 50 for here. Length is basically controls the starting length. I'm just going to reset this. Length controls the starting length, so if we do it the standard one, I might just reduce this next time. Okay, so the length will change when it calls a forward command. It will change the length that it moves. Here it moves 5 units for every forward command, and the length reduction means that as it gets further up the tree, the length reduces. There's also a randomness here, which controls how random that is. Leaves here are called. They're either called at the end of a branch by default, or you can insert L L characters into here wherever you want it to grow a set of leaves. When it calls an L, then it will generate a random number of leaves and place them at the current total position. So this sets the maximum amount of leaves that it generates at that point. So set it down really low. It won't. If you want to set leaves to go off, then you just set that down to 0. Okay, so that's all of these different attributes. You can see at the moment we're changing a preset. It's not actually changing it in the file, it's not saving it. So if you want to save a preset, say you've got the perfect tree, and you've got a tree that is exactly right, you can save that in your presets, which will actually save it to a file. So first off, you give it a name. So let's say tree1. Give it a name, add to the preset. It puts it on the end here. It keeps your original one intact and just names this here. Now this will save in a file, so that next time you open up Maya, this will be saved and will load up in here. You can also remove them, add them and remove them. So yeah, so that works pretty much like that. All that does is save all of these values in here for your tree. So next, let's go through the preview button. Now if you have a very large tree, a very complicated tree, it's useful to have a previewing system so that you can see what the sort of structure is going to be before you commit to large amounts of computation. Could take a long time. Now here it's actually duplicated another one, which is quite useful. When you change the name up here, it will create a new tree and preserve the old tree, which enables you to create multiple trees without overwriting each other. But yet, if you want to replace things, then you just keep the name the same. So if I keep the name the same here, I'll just generate it just to show, just to finish that off. If you create a new tree, say when this is created, if you want to overwrite this one, then you will press generate again, and it will overwrite this one. If you want to overwrite this one, then you just change the name to shape, and it will overwrite that one. It's just a handy way of being able to create multiple trees without having to delete different ones and having to delete it every time. Okay, so that's pretty much the production options, just controlling how the tree works. I'm going to remove the shape one now. That was the original one that we had, and just stick with tree 1. Now you can change the segments, which is just how it will change the segments in both directions, how complicated you want your mesh to be. The radius change will change the starting radius of your thing. I'm going to dump this down a little bit. Okay, so the radius change, if I set that to 5, it will have a very large radius. Now, radius reduction down to 0 radius reduction controls the taper. So 0 means that it's 0% of what it started out at, i.e. nothing. If you set it to 100%, this is going to look really weird, but 100% preserves exactly the same as the ground. I don't know why you would want to do that, but it makes it so that you can change exactly how much it tapers by. So you can get different effects there. Okay, I'm just going to change it back to default. Oh, and it's put my depth back to default as well, so it's going to take a little bit of time. Now the leaves is the next thing. At the moment it's auto-generating the leaves, so what it's doing is it's creating about here it's creating 5 different leaves, random. This is just a leaf growing function. Creates 5 different random leaves with random shaders, random colors, separate shaders that can be edited later. And that's fine for doing these leaves, but if you say want to model your own leaves, you want to create complicated leaves or a branching system with leaves on it so that it will be quite realistic, you can do that. If we see, the easiest way to demonstrate this is by seeing the preview. What it does is it creates these little planes which represent, they're placeholders for where it's going to later create leaves. So so that means that you can tie it into this. If you press auto generate, this is going to randomly create leaves and then place them, randomly select which ones to use and then place them around these ones. If you press selection, I'll just finish generating this just so that we have an object there. If you press the method selection, you can create your, okay, I'll just delete everything. You can create your own leaf. Say that you have, I don't have time to create an actual leaf at the moment, but say that you have a leaf here that's detailed, or it could be a branching system for a leaf, or whatever it is. You can create a number of them as well. I'm just going to use one at the moment. And you have selection put on. When you press generate, instead of generating its own leaves, it's going to put your leaves, it's going to actually instance them to the end of these branches, to where those placeholders were. Now, if you find your leaf, it's actually hidden in here to make it easier. If I unhide that, then you can actually go in, because it's an instance, you can go in and, let's see, you can edit it, and it will edit on all of them. So you can go back, if you're not happy with your leaves, then you can go back and change them down here. You can change all of that. Obviously they've got the same shader applied, so you can go and change that if you want to. I think that's pretty much it for this for the moment. Yeah, I'll just leave you with my last render. Yep, so nice detailed tree, lots of branches and leaves and things. Yeah, so thank you for listening, and that's it for now.